Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. I just finished recording a video on The Bride. So I'm already I was a bit sleepy during that. And then I realized I watched this movie yesterday, The Triplets of Belleville, and it was awesome. I thought it was great, and I wanted to make a video on it, and I didn't yesterday because I was kind of tired. I went to bed afterwards. And then I finished the review on The Bride today, and then I realized, oh, I didn't make the video on the Triplets of Belleville. I just assumed that I had, and then remembered I didn't, and I'm like, shoot. And it's just, this movie was so good, and I wanted to talk about it. So I'm lucky too. I thought I remember taking notes, and I thought I made the video already because I couldn't find my notes, and it turns out the reason I couldn't find my notes was because I didn't label them. It just has the word title, and I didn't even type that in, but it has all my notes and stuff, so I almost couldn't do. I mean, I could have talked about the movie without the notes, but there was specific scenes and things I wanted to talk about. So this is a movie that's in French, and when I watched it, there wasn't English subtitles or anything, but that's completely fine because there's actually very little dialogue, and as a non-French speaker, it's still really easy to follow along what's going on with the plot. You kind of don't really need dialogue. I mean, the parts where there are dialogue is important, the last part of the movie, the final scene does have dialogue, and it's important, and I didn't know what was being said, and I had to Google it afterwards. And I remember in that moment, at least, I felt disappointed I didn't know French, because I thought, I don't know what the meaning of this scene is. It was the one time I was a little confused, but I thought, man, I'm probably missing additional context that makes this ending scene so much more meaningful. And I was right, because I Googled it, and I'll explain that when I get to the end of my notes. I want to talk about the art in this. Actually, that's the big thing. No, wait, I do want to talk about that, but I want to talk about the reason why I watched this movie. I hadn't really heard of it or anything, but I took a film class back in college, and I just remember we didn't watch this film in the class. I wish we did, but I just remember my professor bringing it to our attention and saying hey, I really recommend this movie. It was one slide of a PowerPoint or something for the lesson of the day, and I hadn't heard of it before. And I was okay, cool, this movie's being recommended. I remember I Googled it, and I thought it looked cool, and that was kind of it. And then I remember I don't really watch The Simpsons, but I watched this video that was some of the couch gags, but the ones that were by guest animators. And the guy that made this movie also did one of the Simpsons couch gags where it becomes the art style of this movie, which I need to kind of watch that again now that I've watched this, but that kind of reminded me of it. And then at the time I'm recording this, I did this thing with my friends, with my movie group of we pick movies at certain points of the year and stuff, and I was trying to think of movies I wanted to watch that I had really wanted to see. And I remembered this one, and I didn't pick it to watch with a group because sometimes I end up missing dialogue when there's people talking and stuff. And this is a movie, I'd really wanted to see, and I wanted to make sure to pay as much attention as possible. So I watched it by myself, and that's why I kind of rushed making sure that I didn't rush the movie itself, but to make sure that I watched it. So yeah, basically, to sum it up, I've been wanting to see this for a while because I heard it was really good, and the art style looked really cool, and I finally just kind of sat down and made myself watch it, and I'm really glad that I did. And it turns out there's another movie made by the same guy that I had also seen. It was called The Illusionist. I didn't do a video on it though, but I think between those two movies, I liked this one better. That's what I can say. Oh, I just realized I keep mentioning, yeah, it's made by this person. I didn't even tell you what this guy's name is. Hold on. Like, that's important. I should probably tell you. You know. Let's see. The director is Slyvain Comet. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but I was like looking into some of his movies and stuff. Like, I've seen this one. This one's from 2003. Oh, The Illusionist is from 2010. He has like a couple of movies. I've seen The Simpsons Couch Gag. I mean, that's not a movie. I think the oldest one seems to be one that's called The Old Lady and the Pigeons, and then there's one from last year actually called The Magnificent Life. I might check both of those out because I've liked this guy's movies so far. But yeah, let me talk about this movie. I besides like the artwork itself, which is really pretty, I really liked the character designs. They're very exaggerated, and for some of them at times almost a little like grotesque in a way. I don't mean like ugly, but it like almost reminded me of, you know, you'll go to like the beach or a park or something, and there's like those people that are like on the sidewalk, and or like the zoo or whatever, and they'll do those drawings where it's like they'll draw you, but they'll like really exaggerate like certain facial features that you have, where you almost look like a little character of yourself in a sense. There's like a certain word, it's kind of escaping me right now. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit. But I thought that was pretty cool, honestly, and I don't mean that as a way to say the characters like looked bad. If anything, it like made them more memorable. Like one of the designs I'm like thinking about when I'm talking about this is like, there's this bicyclist. He's one of the main characters, even though he doesn't have like a ton of screen time because he ends up like getting kidnapped. I'll talk about that in a bit. And he has a really long nose, and it kind of reminds me of those dogs that have really, really long noses that end up in like memes and stuff. And there's a lot of like close-up shots of this guy when he's on his bicycle. It almost reminds me of that sort of look when you look at like a fish lens and it like distorts your face, where it's like his eyes kind of look like they're bulging out and you just see his huge like nose. Or like, because he's a bicyclist, he has like really like crazy big like calves, leg muscles or whatever, because he like rides his bike all the time. But he's like comically like skinny to the point where he's like a noodle, but then he has these like huge ass legs, and it's like, what? Or like his grandma, she's on the poster. Actually no, the grandma does look pretty normal. Okay, no, a different example I guess is there's this guy, he's on the poster too, and he has really, really tiny eyes, but like ears that are like the same, almost the same size as like his entire head. It's stuff like that where it's like the people are very exaggerated. Almost reminds me of like something you'd see in like a comic strip, but that, you know, again, that made them memorable and was like kind of cool actually, and it made it easy to remember like who's who and stuff. And there's like crazy things that happen in this movie. I feel like a lot of it is like the beginning actually. Like it starts off, yeah, it's called, there's like these triplet characters, obviously they're those old ladies, but it starts off with the performance of them in their youth, and as they're performing there's like these crazy things that happen. There's a guy that's like tap dancing and his shoes become alive, and the shoes eat him and then drag him like into the curtain like off stage, and there's this like giant that shows up that I don't think has like an upper half of the body. It just looked like a pair of dancing legs. I think that's like the most wacky the movie gets, but like what a way to start it. And there isn't really like, from what I'm remembering, like fantastical elements like that in like the rest of the movie. The story is actually very like, when it finally does start, is like pretty grounded actually. But that was kind of interesting to have as an intro. Basically, I'll sum it up. There's these triplets. They're singers and stuff back in the day. I mean, they like still kind of sing and stuff, and now they don't really like sing for public performances. They just they play instruments, which I gotta talk about the song in this movie. It's pretty cool. Anyway, oh yeah, they don't show up again in the movie until like 40 minutes in. I was kind of surprised by that. But then they're like main characters the rest of the way. Anyway, because then it goes to being about this grandma and this puppy and her grandson who has these dead parents, and she's trying to cheer him up, and he wants a bicycle, and he gets a bicycle, and he is always riding that bicycle, and he gets kidnapped by like the French mafia or something, and the grandma goes to America, to New York, to try to find him, and the triplet old ladies help her to rescue her grandson, and they rescue the grandson, and that's it. That's like, and they fight the mafia, and that's pretty much it. That like sums up the whole plot. And it's interesting like talking about that, because I was really confused in that I thought it was going to be about like the triplets and like their life, or like them being the main character the whole time, I should say. So it's like you see them in the intro, and then it starts this storyline of like this grandma and this bicyclist, and I'm like, wait, where are the triplets? I thought it was going to be like a very minor thing or something about this like grandmother and stuff, but it's like, no, they're like central characters to the story. I was just like, why are we suddenly having like different characters and stuff? I felt bad for the dog, actually. I mentioned a puppy. It's the dog. Well, that's like the grown-up dog on the poster. It's like this really overweight dog. The reason they even have the dog in the first place is like the grandma is trying to cheer up her grandson and doesn't know what he wants, and he doesn't tell her like, hey, I want a bicycle. She only finds out, by the way, because he has like a journal under his bed that has like pictures of bikes and stuff in it, and like well-known bicyclists. I couldn't really read, well, I mean, it would be in French. I wouldn't be able to like read it regardless, but like the print was really small anyway, so I couldn't read anything that was like written in that journal when it's like shown on screen. But when she's trying to cheer up her grandson, she gets the grandson a puppy. So it's not even like, hey, let's adopt a puppy. It's just the puppy used as like a, hey, I'm trying to cheer you up, which, I mean, I get that. I don't know, like I get her good intentions of like, you know, he's gonna like take care of the puppy and stuff, but at the same time, I feel like I see that in like cartoons and stuff of like they give someone a puppy as like a gift. I feel like it kind of rubs me the wrong way though, of like, because then it's treated as like it's almost like a toy for the kid, but then they like might eventually grow tired of it, rather than like, you know, the big decision of, hey, let's adopt a dog into our family. And so like having a puppy, and just like a dog in general, or like any pet, you know, is like a really big deal. But then I feel like when they're given as like, you know, in the present box as a gift in like these kind of things, it never feels like it's as serious as it should be. I'm not saying that like getting someone a pet, like to get them out of their funk or as a gift, is like a bad thing. It's just sometimes like the way it's portrayed, it's just kind of like but yeah, the grandson's given a puppy and they like hang out and stuff, but then as soon as the kid gets a bike, the puppy isn't really paid attention to anymore. And then it bummed me out, like the next time you see the dog, it's like they live in this like really old house, and you see over time as the boy grows up into an adult, the city around them develops until there's like a train that goes like right outside their house, and every hour this dog goes upstairs and barks at the train and then goes downstairs. And the poor thing is like so overweight and has like trouble going up and down the stairs. And you have this like kind of long segment with the dog where it's like the grandma and the grandson are like training 24/7. This grandma's entire world revolves around her grandson, which is actually really sweet. But it also made me feel bad for her because I thought she never does anything for herself. They don't like take like breaks or anything until they get home. He like eats the grandson and then like passes out of exhaustion. Anyway, they're like having dinner, and like there's like a thunderstorm, and the dog is kind of looking at the clock, wondering when they're gonna get home. And they get home, and the dog is like at its food bowl and is hungry, and they're eating dinner and they don't acknowledge the dog, and it drove me crazy. I'm like, please feed your dog. They end up feeding the dog. Actually, the dog gets the grandson's like entire meal practically, but I thought, man, this like poor dog that no one pays attention to. It is nice that like later in the movie, once the triplets get introduced, they end up giving the dog like plenty of attention, which is I think the dog's name is Bruno, if I remember right. But yeah, I felt really bad for that dog. And then there was another part that also kind of stressed me out a little bit. It was more like in the moment. I like actually like out loud gasped because it was just so sudden. It's when the grandma and the grandson, they're training, and the grandma almost gets hit by a car, and it happens like, you know how in a lot of movies it happens and it's like very dramatic or kind of slow, like you see the cars like slowly approaching. No. The grandma is on this like teeny little tricycle. She's going uphill in the rain, and the car comes like right past her. It's so fast that I like gasped and stepped. I feel like those kind of like someone almost gets hit by a car in like movies or fictional things or whatever, I feel like are so much more scary because to watch personally, because like that's how fast, you know, it would like be in real life that you could like, you know, almost get hit by a car. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, then there's this bicycle race, and the grandson gets kidnapped. At first I was kind of confused about it too, because he like goes willingly into this truck, and I thought, okay, he's like letting himself get kidnapped, and then I realized, oh, the grandma is in a truck that looks identical and like is supposed to be taking care of the bike racers and stuff, and you know, he got in the wrong truck and got kidnapped, and I felt bad for those like kidnapped bicyclists. You get to check in on them like later in the movie, and there's all of these people that are like betting on them to win, and then they're basically on this like bike treadmill thing, and they're constantly staring at this like moving picture and stuff. It's like black and white. I don't know if they think it's real or not. I wasn't sure. They're just like staring at it, and then if they fall off the bike, they get shot, and then they continue to get kind of like a horse that can't race. What's that called? I think a lame horse. And the grandson ends up okay. He like ends up getting rescued and stuff, but I just thought, damn, those poor bicyclists. But I feel like the movie becomes more, I felt more interested in it once we get to see the triplets again, because like you get to see the grandma struggle and stuff in New York. She doesn't have any money, but the triplets, I like that they take her in. There's like a really nice scene when the triplets meet the grandmother for the first time, where she's sitting out on the street and is playing some music, and they end up singing and stuff, and it's nice because it's, I think it's interesting that the triplets in their older age, they don't sing for public performances. That's when they play just instrumental music. But when they're at home or when they're with this grandmother, they sing. It's like only in moments that are private, and I thought that was really interesting. They do end up having a music. Okay, I need to talk about the music performance. Actually, they have this music performance where it's just them like playing instrumental music, and it's not with instruments, it's with like homemade instruments, and that was like one of the best parts of the movie. The song was great. I remember I was like reading online after watching the movie, and man, this movie was like nominated for like an Oscar, which, you know, I think it deserves that. And then Finding Nemo won, and I mean, Finding Nemo is a really good movie. I cannot deny that. But I feel like this movie should have won. And then it was nominated for a song too. But I think because like Lord of the Rings came out that year, there was like a song from that like won instead. And again, it's like Lord of the Rings is also, well, I don't know which movie of the three like specifically was like nominated that year. And that's sometimes the hard thing with like Oscars and stuff, where it's like not just like, oh, this one should have won, but in a way where it's like, oh damn, they're like both good, where it's like I completely get why whatever won, you know, like I completely get like Lord of the Rings probably beating like everything that year, you know. But yeah, I wish this movie had won something. I mean maybe it won a different kind of award. That would have been cool. It absolutely deserved it. This movie's great, but the song was really good, and I totally understand it being like nominated for an Oscar and stuff. I'm gonna have to listen to it later. But yeah, I like the Triplets characters. They're like very energetic and stuff, and they like know they're gonna like get into a dangerous situation. They're like armed and ready to go. Like there's a scene, I didn't even realize it was like gonna be foreshadowing and stuff, where one of the triplets like goes outside in the middle of the night to like catch frogs, and she has a net, and I'm like, okay, cool, she's gonna like use her net. It's probably gonna be like a chill scene. She tosses an explosive into the water, and it causes all of the frogs to get like shot out of the water, and then she puts them in her net. And like I'm mentioning it's foreshadowing because later on they go to like fight the mafia and stuff, and they use the explosive. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. I was not expecting that. And then they eat the frogs. I kind of wonder what like whole frogs taste like. I remember, I don't remember where I was. I got to try frog legs, but I was like really little, and I don't remember what they tasted like. Or no. Wait, my bad. It wasn't me. It wasn't me that got to try them. It was my brother. Okay, scratch that. This is what I get for recording when it's like already past midnight. It was my brother that got to try the frog legs. I don't think he was impressed. I've never tried a frog, but I want to. I'm very curious what they taste like. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you guys have, like, let me know. I mean, I'll pretty much like try anything. I've even like eaten like sheep eyes and stuff. They're pretty good actually. But yeah, the triplets, they're cool. I wish they got to sing more in the movie. That would have been nice. They all have like really nice voices. But yeah, they go with the grandma to like rescue the son, and that ends up leading to a fight, but also to a car chase. And it's a really slow car chase. One of the vehicles in question, the one that's being controlled by all these old people, is not even a car. It's a moving projection that's powered by bicycles. It's like the thing that all of the bicyclists were like hooked up to, that they're pedaling so hard they pedal outside of the building and onto the streets, and they're being chased by all of these cars. And because of that, it's a really slow chase, but it's still like really entertaining, and there's like real tension to it because there's car crashes. There's so many car crashes in that car chase, and freaking rocket launchers. It's crazy, but it's also really slow. But that's okay because they like make up for it in other ways, and it's still really cool, honestly. It kind of reminded me, even though it's not, from what I remember, like as violent, there's something about the vibe of it, or maybe it just being a slow car chase. It reminded me of one of the car chases. It was in one of the Wes Anderson movies. It was either one of the shorts or it was in The French Dispatch. Might have been in The French Dispatch. I know I watched that and I talked about it on this channel. It's been a while. But yeah, and then the way the car chase ends is really cool. Honestly, the grandma does something so badass. So you can't see her shoes because it's blocked by the title, but like one of her shoes is normal size and one of her shoes is really big. I wasn't sure if like her foot was real in there or it was like she couldn't really walk or what was with her shoe. But she stands in front of the villain's car, like directly in front of it, no fear in her eyes, and she sticks her foot out and she trips the car with her big shoe, and it like full on slides, and then it crashes into this like boat, not like in the way cars usually crash, but it like falls out of they're on like a bridge or something, and you know the part of the boat, it's like a not sailboat, I need to be more specific, not cruise ship, but kind of like, no, it's like a steamboat, and you know the part, it's like the big chimney thing, it's not a chimney, but like the steam comes out of it, the car goes in there and it like explodes. It's crazy. Not even to be really the part of like the car, you know, going into that part of the boat, but the fact that this woman stuck out her foot and caused the car to crash. I don't know what the hell her shoe's made of, but that was awesome. That is not how I was expecting the car crash to, I mean, not the car crash, I'm sorry. The car chase to end, but that was great for it to end. But yeah, then you know, they saved they saved the bicyclist, the grandson. I don't know what happens to the other bicyclists. I don't remember. I'm presuming that the ones that are still alive get to go home. I don't know. But then I was a little confused by the ending where they show the bicyclist, the grandson. I don't know what the grandson's name is, by the way. He's an old man and he's watching the movie, the Triplets of Belleville, and someone asks him a question and he answers, and I didn't know what was being said, and I thought, okay, these are like the final lines of the film in a movie that has very little dialogue. I'm presuming that this is really important, and I googled it, and it's apparently a reference to something from the beginning of the movie where the grandma is saying, oh, okay, I wrote it down to make sure I get it right. Is that it then? Is it over, do you think? What have you got to say to grandma? And then the grandson says, it's over, grandma. And I guess that was something she asked him at the beginning of the movie. Like I said, I wouldn't know. I didn't understand the dialogue. I mean, I guess I would know in that, you know, you'd probably remember the line, but like, there's so little dialogue in this movie, I didn't know which of it was going to be important. I didn't remember this part at the beginning at all. But yeah, then the grandson says, it's over, grandma. I don't know if he responded at the beginning too, or if it was only at this later part at the end. But I did think that was interesting. I think it does make it more meaningful at the end of the movie where it's showing him as an old man, you know, like everything's finally over in his career and maybe also his life. I wasn't really sure how old he was. He looked pretty elderly, but then it was kind of sad thinking about that, of like, he's like really old at that point. So that means like literally every other main character is like, you know, long gone at that point. Because like when the story's taking place and the grandson, you know, is a young man, you know, all the other characters, including the dog, are like really old at that point anyway. So, but yeah, I liked this movie. I liked that it was basically just these four old women and this dog, and they go to rescue this bicyclist, and that this grandma is willing to do absolutely anything to save her grandson, and really just like for his happiness too, and that being like a core part of the film I thought was really nice. That's like a nice message. But yeah, the characters are like really entertaining. Like I said, I loved the art style of this movie. It was overall just really good. I wish I'd just like made the review after I watched the movie, especially because like I thought, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, and now it's 12:30 and I'm like even more tired. So it didn't accomplish anything of me waiting a day, but I just had to talk about this. It was just so good. But yeah, I might watch more of these made by the same director. I'm at least gonna go watch that Simpsons gag again. I think it was only like a couple of minutes anyway. But yeah, that was my thoughts on this good movie.